What's going on, guys? Byron here from ETA Kitchen, and we're continuing our fermentation kick. Pardon me while I try to get a good grip here. We're continuing on our fermentation kick. So I've had to upgrade my setup. I had to go buy a big humongous pot because I'm sterilizing these jars right now. And these are big jars, guys. These are huge jars. All right, gentlemen, ladies, whoever else might be watching. These are some giant, humongous jars. Give you a little update. This is the llama guts. And as you can see, it's nice, it's cloudy, it's fermenting, it's doing its thing. This is Pandar's Revenge. It is also doing its thing, and it is quite healthy and happy. The dilly beans are definitely doing their thing. And the cucumbers are rocking out. So now, I've already started the process because this does indeed take a while. But we're going to make sauerkraut today. I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, oh, sauerkraut's horrible. That's because you've never had fermented sauerkraut. So I got some pre-shredded up cabbage. I wish I would have had some red cabbage as well, but this is what they had. So what you're going to do, you're going to put the cabbage, and I'm not going to put any more salt in right now. You're going to see me do it with the next batch. But you're going to put the cabbage into the bowl with the salt. And if you look, there's already some moisture that's starting to form. So what you're doing is you're working this. See that dripping? All of that moisture is coming from this cabbage. It's not coming from any other source. So you're just gonna massage it, you're gonna mash it, you're gonna crunch it, and then we're gonna put it in a big jar because we need a big jar for this. So I'll show you now how we do this. And also, as you do this, you need to taste test it. Because if it's too salty at this point, the whole batch is going to be too salty for you. And nobody likes a salty kraut. And if you do like a salty kraut, you're wrong. But that's okay. So this is just plain old white cabbage, nothing fancy, nothing particularly to write home about. And for this small batch, because this is a small batch, we are using 500 grams, so half a kilo or 1 pound of cabbage. So now we're going to add some fresh cabbage. And we're just going to salt it like so. That's it. And we're just going to massage it, crunch it, take out your anger. But the more you crunch it, the softer it gets. And the softer it gets, the better it's going to ferment, and the better it's going to taste, and the more you're going to like it. See what I did there? But seriously, if you've never had fermented sauerkraut, man, you're missing out. You are missing out. It's wonderful, wonderful stuff. Now we're going to add another bunch of cabbage. And we're going light on the salt. This is just Himalayan pink salt. It's nothing fancy. It's nothing to write home about. You can use any salt you want as long as it's not iodized salt. Iodized salt will kill the bacteria. It's not what you want. You want the bacteria. This is good bacteria. This is happy bacteria. Your guts are going to thank you later on. This is a fermented food, and you know, the longer I'm alive, the more I research things, the more I realize that our grandparents used to eat a lot of fermented foods, and we have stopped and we have gone away from it as a society. And there's a lot of good here. It's wonderful. Don't be scared of it. Try it. You'll love it. You can see how much liquid that's already making. Now we're not going to add any liquid to this, but I am going to pause at this point because now we're going to throw in some mustard seed. I'm going to go wash my hands off. And now we're going to throw in some mustard seed, which is a good thing. Mustard seed gives it a very nice flavor, in my opinion. And since I'm the one that's got to eat this, my opinion matters. So we're going to grab our spice grinder. Handy dandy spice grinder. And we're just going to go ahead and plug this in. And we're going to throw some mustard seed in there. I don't know, about that much. It's about a teaspoon, a little over a teaspoon, somewhere thereabouts. Hoping that that's on camera. There we go. And we're going to throw in just a bit of black pepper, and I'm just going to mix it right in with the, that's about a teaspoon of black pepper. We're just going to mix that in with the mustard seed. Nothing particularly fancy or complicated. And it is completely optional. But we're going to powderize that mustard. That's it. So now, since we're about halfway through, we're going to go ahead and deposit about half of that. Reserving the rest for when we get to the top. And we're just going to do the same. We're just going to mash it on in there. It's also going to help take away just a little bit from that super salty taste. Nobody likes a salty, nobody likes a salty kraut. No, I'm not insulting Germans. Though I can imagine some of them are probably sour. Sorry, dumb joke. Anyway, no, what are you doing? Get in here. Continue the crunching and the mixing with the powdered black mustard seeds and the salt. Some people like to add a little bit of cayenne to it, make a little spicy. Make it a little spicy. I'm not going to tell you it's wrong. I'm not going to tell you it's right. There are no rules when it comes to the bedroom or the kitchen. Something I very firmly believe. Always be willing to experiment. Never know. So now, we've got this all nice and mashed, and it's getting good and fluffy now. We're gonna go ahead and take another taste test. Oh, that is awesome. I can taste the pepper. I can taste that mustard. That's beautiful. Oh yeah. See how nice and soft it's getting? That's beautiful. You want it nice and soft. And unfortunately, I just realized that this is going to take up a heck of a lot less room than I thought. But that's okay, because the next batch I do is going to be the size of those 2 jars that I'm currently sterilizing, and I don't really need to. Well, that's okay. I'll put one of my smaller canning jars in there and get it sterilized. I'll go wash my hands off. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of that mustard seed and black pepper in there. And we're just going to add a little bit more salt. Not a lot. Not a lot. Just a little bit. Mash it. Just keep mashing it. And you're going to let this sit for about 30 minutes anyway. At least you should. We want to extract as much of that moisture as we can, that water. And you can see I've put no water in this. All of this water that you're seeing right now came from this here cabbage, which is now nice and massaged and soft. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Wash my hands off, get the proper size cannon jar in place, and I'll be back. Alrighty guys, and we're back. So the only thing that you guys didn't see is I added a little bit of cumin, about a tablespoon of cumin, and I added some chunks of black garlic. So as you can see, I've got the jar here, and I'm just waiting on it to cool down a little bit more so I can use it. Now we're going to be doing this one old school. So we're going to take this lid, which is sterile, and we're going to put it on, and when we screw it down, we're just going to screw it to where it's just lightly in place, and that's going to allow the gas to fart out. Alright, I've got some more jars like this coming, but they're not going to get delivered until next week, so there's not a whole lot I can do. So now, I can't stress this enough, before you put it in there to ferment, take a little taste test and make sure that it's not too salty. This happens to be just right. So we're going to go ahead and start stuffing it. And just pop it on in there. Actually, I want to let this jar cool off a little bit more before I continue. It's still pretty hot. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Alrighty. So now the jar is cool enough that I can actually handle it, and we're going to go ahead and continue our mission. All of this water, you're going to want to put it in there, guys. Can't stress this enough. This is important. All this water that has come out has to go in here. You're going to ferment this bad boy in its own juices. This is one of the few foods that we're going to do like this. When we do kimchi, we're going to do the same. We're not doing kimchi today, we're just doing the kraut. But I may possibly end up having to add a little bit of brine to this, maybe not. As I smush it, you can see that liquid coming. Look at that. See that liquid? That's why we took all that time to massage it earlier. And you want to massage it. You want this to be a nice soft sauerkraut, and this is going to go very, very nicely, I think, with the cumin in it. The cumin adds just a nice dimension, I think, to the already wonderful flavors, and the black pepper just gives it a little kick, not a whole lot, and then the garlic, that black garlic, which is already fermented, is just going to add some more lovely, wonderful flavors to it. And this is not your regular sauerkraut. This is going to be something special. And the mustard seed really brings a nice little, not a heat per se, but it brings a nice little dimension to it. So now you can see as I shove it down, it's actually, I don't know how well you can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trade positions. I'll move this over here. You're going to want to keep your towel underneath this bad boy. Trust me. Because you don't want to make a mess, right? So now you can see how much liquid has come out. And all of this liquid came from the cabbage. I did not add any water. This is the water that's inside the vegetable itself. Now you want to take painstaking care to ensure that all of your cabbage is under this water. And as this goes, this is going to release quite a bit of CO2. Now, for this small batch, I didn't realize that for a 1 pound batch, a 16-ounce jar would be about perfect. So that's my fault, but hey, that's why we're doing this, right? We're learning. That's the whole point. Now, this bag right here, just an ordinary bag, we're going to shove in here. Well, let me back it up. We're going to add a little bit of salt to the bag. You're probably saying, well, why are you doing that? Well, we're adding this to the bag, and then we're going to add some filtered water to the bag. And this is going to act as a weight to keep that sauerkraut under the water. Because as it goes, right now, it's going to get a little bit filtered. Or I'm sorry, it's as it continues to ferment, it's going to get a little bit, it's going to get a little floaty. And you're going to have the gas inside there. You know what? I saw that guy do this on YouTube, and I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. And you know what? It's not a cool idea. Put the salt in the glass, add your filtered water, room temperature filtered water. Now, again, because all of these YouTube wonderful people are saying, oh, you can't use a plastic bag. Oh, it's got BPA. Well, you know what? This is a BPA-free freezer bag. So I'm going to tell you, go ahead and use it. And you're just going to shove it in there until it makes contact with the top of your kraut. Now you're going to add your salt water. Now you're going to want the salt water because if this bag for whatever reason develops a leak, you don't want to put fresh water in there because that's going to kill your ferment. So now we're just going to go ahead and close the bag. Squeeze out of all the air that you can squeeze. There we go. And we're just going to shove that in there. Now you see how that makes a nice seal? The bag kind of expands a little bit. You know what? I might have to get another bag. You know what? I am going to get another bag. I'd rather use 2 of these than risk getting it wrong. And for the curious, I measured out 25 grams of salt, which was a little bit too much. I would say 15 to 20 grams of salt is a better choice. So we're just going to do the same thing, but on this side. Any of these vegetables that get exposed to the air are going to grow mold. So you don't want it exposed to the air, you want it under the liquid. The liquid is your safety, okay? The liquid is going to keep the brine in the liquid, the salt in the liquid is what's going to keep the bad bacteria from forming, and it's going to keep your mold from forming. That's perfect. That's still going to let the air fart out. It's still going to keep the pressure on it. That's pretty much what we needed. So, cool beans. Now we're just going to lightly fold these. And you can see it's really pressing down on that sauerkraut now. Then we're just going to take our lid. Remember, we don't want to seal it. We want it, screw it down. Okay, snug, loose, snug, loose, snug, loose. You want it right about there so that as the CO2, this is a 2-piece lid, so you want the lid to be able to move just a hair to fart out that CO2 while it's doing its thing. Just a little bit. Now, why do we have these cool locks? Number one, they keep air out, and number two, if this pressurizes enough, it will actually explode. And it sounds really cool until you have to clean it up. So we're just going to go ahead and put this bad boy right there. All that you can see, it's got the weight shoving it down into the liquid. We're going to do its thing, and I'm going to go write the date on it, and that's it. That's all she wrote, guys. That's how you make sauerkraut. This is Byron from ETA Kitchen, and we'll give you an update later on in the week.